Education is paid for mostly by property taxes. Those taxes can be broken down into three basic categories: the statewide levy, the local district levy, and the local district bond. Now, in theory, the state is supposed to fully fund basic education, but Spokane Superintendent Adam Swinyard says in practice there are some huge critical gaps.
The reality of it is we're not fully funded for basic education. We receive enough funding to hire 5 nurses for 30,000 kids.
The local levy pays for another 36 nurses right now. One of the other big gaps, special education. More than 16% of SPS students have special needs that cost more money.
In the state of Washington, you get extra funding for each special education student up to 13% of your population. For every student over that 13%, you don't get any extra funding for. And our local levy then has to pay for those special education services. When those students show up at our door, we don't turn them away because our mission is to serve all kids, and legally, we're required to serve them by federal special education law. So it's an excellent example of how the state funding model adversely impacts school districts that have a high special education population.
So a local levy is added on top of the state levy in order to fill those gaps and to pay for extra programming like sports, arts, and AP classes. Now, the bond is a third factor affecting your property taxes. Voters approved a big one in 2018, which will do things like build new middle schools and replace Joe Albi Stadium. But the money from those projects can't just be diverted to, say, paying for nurses. It's a legal distinction. Bond money has to go to physical construction.
Yeah, so levies are for learning, levies are for programs, for staffings, for intervention supports, and bonds are for buildings.
Okay, so the levy on the ballot this year, is that a new tax? No, not a new one. The existing levy is expiring, and so this one would just replace it. But that doesn't mean it's not a tax increase. The current levy rate is $1.60. Property owners pay that much per every $1,000 their property is worth. If this vote passes, that rate will go up to $2.40 next year, then $2.45 the year after, then $2.50 after that. The state levy rate is expected to stay the same. And to try to reduce the tax burden a bit, the district is doing some refinancing on the bond basically and lowering that rate. It'll go from $2.59 to $2.17. So the total rate property owners will pay for schools in Spokane County will increase from $702 this year to $740 next year. So if your home is worth $300,000, right now you pay just over $2,100 in property taxes towards schools. If this levy passes next year, that'll be just over $2,200. So why the need for the rate increase? Why can't the district just get by keeping the same rate? Swinyard says one reason, the amount allocated by the state for SPS is about to drop.
The district is losing a projected $42 million over the next 3 years in state funding. And so our reliance on those levy funds will continue. It's over 350 staff members that we would lose if we didn't have those funds in place.
Another reason, the current rate was really already too low for comfort. In fact, the district is quick to point out that even though the proposed levy rate is an increase from the current one, it's a decrease from a few years back. Spokane voters had previously approved a rate of $379. In 2018, that $300,000 value homeowner paid just over $2,500 in property taxes. Then the state decided to cap all local levies at $1.50. That caused big budget crises in nearly every district. So the state raised the cap to $2.50. This new levy would eventually make that the rate in Spokane. So in some ways, the district views this levy as just sort of getting back to normal, or close to it. The levy needs a simple majority to pass on February 9th. Casey Decker, KREM 2 News.